Hey everyone, good evening. This is your host tonight, Don Chin. Thank you for joining me on a very special show. I am a realtor by day and a pop culture enthusiast by night, a comic book creator, also a big film buff. And a guest of mine today actually went to my old alma mater, which is Humboldt State University, where he studied film and did far more than I did when I went there. But I did go there in the 80s, and I had a film degree as a minor. And my aspirations to be the next George Lucas, unfortunately, did not pan out. But, you know, I made comic books instead, and that was been a fun gig. But I came across this film online, and I'm not exactly sure how it came into my world, but ever since I've watched it, which was probably 7 or 8 years ago, it's been like an annual ritual that my wife and I and our family, when we get together, maybe for a Thanksgiving, we will put this video on and have the family watch it on, you know, on the stream on our big TV, and it's a hit every time. So I know just by the crowd that we've got here already, we've got over 22 people here. You folks are probably fans of JENSEN RUFE and his partner, Steve Love. This is just an adorable 10-minute film that he put together. I believe Jensen said that he created this in 2001. And on YouTube, it's got over 70,000 views. And I'm sure it's beloved by not just myself, but you folks out there in the audience. And so I'm really pleased today to have Jensen show his kindness and come back to in our virtual world, come back to Humboldt County and kind of tell us about how it was doing film here. I believe he actually was a Humboldt County film commissioner for a number of years and worked on some movies. And so we're just going to kind of talk to Jensen about, you know, what he's up to, kind of what inspired him to make this Orrick movie, what it was like living up here in Humboldt County. And he's gone on to different things since leaving our area. I just talked to him and he just said, yeah, I've been working on Project Runway. I've been editing The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. And he's doing this all from the comfort of his kitchen, believe it or not. So with COVID, you got to make things work, you know, how you can. And so a lot of us, like me and you, are working at home and having, you know, making the best of it that we can. Jensen gave me the permission to play, before we get into the Orrick screening, he did a trailer with his friend Steve for a little kind of a show that I think he wanted to pitch. So I'm going to play that first, and it's got a few snippets of Orrick in it, and then we're going to have Jensen join us. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I'll show you the video with his trailer. So here you go, guys. Enjoy this.
Steven Jensen's Universe.
If it's a good tenderloin, you'll never forget it.
Everybody knows about my tenderloin. You can ask anybody, they love my tenderloin because my tenderloin has been a great tenderloin.
There's a rumor that in 1966, Paul McCartney died in a car accident and that the surviving Beatles subsequently planted clues in their music alluding to his alleged death. Find out the truth here.
Sing a song of Orrick, where we live. Let's sing about what Orrick really is.
Steven Jensen's Universe.
So there's a trailer that you may not have seen before that Steve and Jensen did. And of course, we see some characters from Orrick in there, most notably our resident poet from the tavern. And he's so lovable. He's probably my favorite character. I'm going to have to ask Jensen who his favorite character was. But without any further ado, folks, let's give a warm cyber welcome to my guest tonight, JENSEN RUFE. Jensen, how are you, buddy?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Now you're down in Southern California, right?
Yeah, West Hollywood.
Right. So when did you what led you to I saw in your bio that you went to school at UCLA and then you graduated there and then you decided to do film up in Humboldt. What was that? How did that come about?
I think it was my junior year, maybe senior year. I was a communications major, and at UCLA, that kind of just means you take a little bit of everything. And I took a history of documentary film class. I think it was my senior year, and just fell in love with it. But communication there, you don't do any hands-on stuff. It's just theoretical. So I decided I fell in love with documentary when I took that history of documentary class, and just decided to send out applications to film schools that didn't require any prior film experience, and Humboldt was the only one that accepted me. So the decision was made for me. My girlfriend then, my wife now, we flew up there to check out Humboldt, and pretty much as soon as we landed, said, "Yeah, let's do this."
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, how long did you live in our area?
5 years, 3 years in school, and then 2 years afterwards working at the film commission that you referenced earlier.
Okay. And I think I saw in your bio, you grew up like in Indiana, right? Is that kind of where you were born? And
I was born in Chicago. My family's from Indiana, so like Christmases and stuff I associate Indiana with kind of being my family's home state. But I grew up actually in Chicago, then we moved out to San Diego.
And then you became a Dallas Cowboys fan, so I'm really confused now. But
that goes way back to the cradle almost.
Okay, so had you ever visited Humboldt before you got the acceptance to go to the film?
No. So yeah, so we took the little propeller. You had to fly to San Francisco first, a little propeller plane. And it felt like we were coming into the middle of nowhere, which in a way, just in terms of distance to a big city, it is one of the more rural areas in the United States, and it felt like it. But that was just kind of what the doctor ordered. We were into it.
Oh, that's great. It's hard. It's hard to describe to people that haven't been here before, but it's almost it's so beautiful. And every time I drive from 101 and I go over the highway where Trinidad, opens up, it's just breathtaking. I love that view, which actually you would have to see that if you're going to go to Orrick from, Eureka, which is where I live. Now, Steve is your partner in this movie, and unfortunately he couldn't make it tonight. But did you know him before you made this movie, or did you just meet him at Humboldt? Or
we started the grad program at the same day, and about as soon as we met, we became buddies and partnered up on class exercises and things like that. And then after, did we start doing this during school? No, I guess we did this after school. This was our first, post-school project, and we embarked on it together. Yeah.
Okay. Now, one thing I didn't know until you told me in a message before the show was that the Orick film was actually there's a longer version, right?
There is. So that was the movie that we set out to make, was this. Well, I should say we set out to make what the short is, which is just kind of this look into this wacky kind of Twin Peaksy town, we called it. But the people there didn't really want to talk about that at the time, and this is like prior to 9/11. They were the towns, the people that live there, maybe they still are. I've been there in a long time, but they were really focused on this issue of the state and national parks coming in and like taking their land away and trying to gobble up the town. And they were totally against it. They felt like they're right or wrong. They felt like their rights were being violated and that their land was being taken away from them. And that's all they wanted to talk about. So it became, the documentary, just by virtue of what the townspeople wanted to talk about, became this more serious thing that wasn't necessarily what we set out to do. And we finished it and whatever, it screened at some film festivals, but the original goal of just kind of diving into this sort of Twin Peaks interesting universe. Quirky is a good word. The movie wasn't that, so that's why I re-edited it to the shorter version, which is the one that's on YouTube.
I see. So, is there any plan to ever release the full version, or are you just going to keep it to the new edit?
Honest to God, like the master tape is on a VHS tape, and I believe it's in an attic at my dad's house in San Diego. It's gone. In fact, somebody wrote me recently who used to go to HSU that had to watch the movie in like a land use class. I forget the context that the person had watched it, but she contacted me recently and said, "Can I get a copy of it?" And I said, "Man, if I find a tape, I'll send it to you." But I haven't found a tape since she emailed me. So it's not lost. I just have to find it.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that people would love to see it once you unearth it and hopefully post it on YouTube. We have a comment from Ratcock Official that says you're being paid to promote Cheez-Its. And someone else said, you're a corporate sellout.
I'm a prankster myself, and I know some of my friends are gonna bombard us with prankster comments. But I guess I am a sellout. I'm working on The Bachelor.
Someone's harping on your football team as well.
People can be wrong. That's okay.
Oh man. So anyways, let's get into more about Orrick. Now, what inspired you and Steve to make the big version and then edit it down into like a 10-minute version?
Well, like you were talking about, when you drive up from Eureka and you come through the Beauty, then you come into this town where you have all these burl artists. We were just intrigued. What the hell is this town? And I guess maybe we had gone to the rodeo. I don't know. We saw enough of the town to realize, man, if we just start rolling camera around here, we're gonna get some gems on tape. And we did, but like I said earlier, really all the people were focused on was this big like national park, state park versus Orrick controversy, and that's just kind of what it became. So they would have their rallies and stuff, and we just started going to those rallies, and it veered away from what we wanted it to be, just because no one really wanted to participate in our vision. However, we got enough little bits and pieces over the course of the year that it was close to a year that we were filming that.
Wow.
Maybe, yeah, but I just completely blatantly lied in the version that's on YouTube and made it seem like we were up there in one weekend. But those are like the best bits that we pulled, the best bits in terms of telling this story about a quirky little town that we were able to compile over the course of the times over the course of a year that we were filming. I don't know how many times we went up there over the course of that year, maybe a dozen. And so that's just what you see in the YouTube video. The shorter version are just kind of like the best little bits that we scrunched into 10 minutes and then just sort of painted it as if we had gone up there one weekend and this is what happened. But truth be told, it's over the course of time.
Wow. Did you shoot it like 16 millimeter, or what did you use to?
It was, we were on, what were we using then? We were using mini DV.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Digital, yeah.
Yeah, back in my day, we had to splice film. We didn't have.
I did that.
So, well, that's awesome, because the way that I've always interpreted the film, it was just kind of like you said, shot over a weekend, and now that all of us are learning, there's this backstory that it's a much larger picture and a much more serious subject matter.
Yeah.
So, was this for a school project for you and Steve?
It was our first post-school project.
Okay. So
our attempt to become professionals.
did you get a grant, or were you self-funded, or how did you?
No, it didn't cost very much. It was the cost of the tapes and the gas to drive up there. We did stay overnight when we went to the rodeo. I believe we did. Did we stay over? Yeah, we stayed overnight because the rodeo takes place over the course of several days. So the cost of the movie was like the cost of the tapes, which are almost free, and a couple of nights of hotel room. So it didn't really cost us that much to make the movie. It was more our time than anything else.
I see. So over the course of a year, did people just start to recognize you guys, and you were just kind of part of the culture up there, or was it?
Yeah. We made friends. Some people didn't like us. They're like, "Who are these outsiders coming in here? I don't like them." We would get dirty looks pretty regularly, and but there was a core group of people that welcomed us, and I guess I've lost touch with most of those people, but there was a period of time where I was staying in touch with our friends that we made up there.
Well, it's pretty crazy that it almost seems like it's 20 years ago that you actually made this movie.
Yeah,
right?
It was. It was exactly that year, 20 going into 21, or I'm sorry, 2000 going into 2001. So it would be exactly 20 years ago.
Wow. It doesn't feel like that. I mean, you watch it and it could have just been done like last week, because time doesn't really change in Orrick too much. Yeah. So did you ever enter either the short version or the long version in like film festivals, or?
We got the longer version into one sort of film festival down in Santa Monica. The long version, I'll be frank, it's not great. It's really not, because it's not the movie that we set out to make. And 9/11 happened right when we finished it, and then so this whole issue of poor us, the park, we're in this big fight for our lives with the park, just didn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah.
So we kind of aborted the mission, kind of is the best way to phrase it. We just, but we also knew that we had some great stuff on tape, which is the short version. So it was a couple of years later that I just decided, all right, we gotta make something out of the good stuff that we have that didn't have anything to do with the longer version, which is what, is on YouTube.
So if you made the big 45-minute film in 2001, did you only release the 10-minute version like about 10 years ago on YouTube, or was it?
No, I finished. I think I did that in 2004.
Okay.
The version that's on YouTube, and then just I made that as part of the Steven Jensen's Universe, trailer that you made. Just at the time, what I thought I would do is make a little like pilot for a nonfiction program. And yet, as you phrased it, maybe try to pitch it to people that I met working in TV or whatever. And I think, but basically what it helped me do more than anything is just like get jobs. But I don't think we actually submitted it to a film festival, come to think of it. But
I would have voted for it if I was favorite, I think. Did it actually help you get work down in, Hollywood?
I think so. Like I would go when I first, moved down there. I was working these sort of entry-level jobs. I would leave my documentaries just kind of laying around the office so that the people in power would see it. Oh, you edit. All right. Well, let me. It did kind of work out that way, where they would grab it and take it home and watch it with their family or whatever, and then come back the next day and say, "I have a job for you, young man."
Well, that's awesome, man. So the Jensen, maybe we have some people in the chat. Someone says, "Can we get an Orrick 20 years later, Doc?"
I don't think it would be much different.
That's true. That's true. And someone else says, "Man, I could really go for some Cheez-Its right now." Oh man. So folks, I know you're waiting. If some of you have not ever seen this movie, get ready for a classic. Get your popcorn ready. It's you might squirt your drink out your nose, so you better be careful. It's pretty. Jensen's got his Cheez-Its, and so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna screen this, and Jensen and I will be off to the side. You'll be able to see his reaction. I might have to mute myself because I am known to laugh hysterically, especially when Jerry starts to talk. So Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and put, someone said Orick flavored Cheez-Its. That's funny. What would that taste like?
Burl.
Burl. There you go. Tastes like the cardboard box. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, folks, and get this all queued up. And let me take this little banner off for Jensen. And by the way, if you want to find out more about Jensen, that's his website, jensenrufe.com. And then I wanted to also plug his YouTube channel, which is Renderville. And I'll probably, if I get a chance, I'll probably try to pop these links into the chat. So you can just click on them and then subscribe, and it'll be great. So, okay, guys, so we're going to go ahead, and me and Jensen are going to go off to the side, and I'm going to share the movie. So get ready, folks. Welcome to Orick, California, USA.
We found ourselves journeying up the California coast to the small town of Orrick, nestled nicely amongst the redwoods, the tallest trees in the world. Along with trees, there are lots of places on the side of the road in Orrick where you can buy what they call burl art.
How important is burl art to Orrick?
Oh, it's very important. We've got one restaurant in town now, 2 small motels, and 2 gas stations. That's it, other than the burl shops.
How many are there?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 to 12. It's the main business of this little town.
Burl art is usually created with a chainsaw, and its subjects can vary from trees to the ever-popular bear to eagles, dolphins, apes, Indian chiefs, castles, giant Bigfoots, and even O.J. Simpson.
What is the appeal of burl?
I don't know. It's neat.
It's not one of the hardest things to do, but people, I think it is. So they go, so I like doing those things that make people go, hey, wow, look at that.
You don't make that much money at it, but it's a good living for especially the kind of work. It's really fun. You know what I mean? You guys like making a movie, you get done, look at it, be self-satisfying.
I guess not surprisingly, not everybody sees the art in burl art.
I consciously, when I drive through Orick, look for the beauty in that town, and it's there, but it is hard to see. I mean, how many burl shops does a town need? A burl shop can be seen as part of Americana. It's part of what Orick is. But I'll tell you, people come to us, tourists, and they're afraid to get out of their cars in Orick. And I think that's part of just the visual that you see through there.
Ouch. Well, Orick might not be the cleanest place on earth, that's for sure. But the people seemed nice enough, so we decided to go ahead and shack up at the Orick Motel. Then we ventured on down the road to the local tavern, the Lumberjack. Friday nights at the Lumberjack, pool players compete for meat prizes while a local country musician named Charlie performs.
Players like to play for meat items. We have various kinds of meat, New York steaks to bacon to ham. It's kind of a Friday night tradition.
The competition was fierce, but Jerry, the town poet, had more than meat on his mind.
Love is forever inside. Here's something I wrote years ago. Day by day, moment by moment, do whatever, whenever, as is asked. Look to those as you look to yourself. To try is to fail, but love within is and forever shall be real. So live life to the fullest and be happy and smile.
Back at the pool tournament, this lucky lady won first prize and chose the rump roast, while the runner-up chose the ribs. Not a bad second place prize.
When I was in San Quentin, I sang the Star Spangled Banner, brought even the guards to a tear. Oh, say, can you see I'm the dog
We chose a very good weekend to come to Orrick. Friday night, meet pool. Saturday night, Orrick Rodeo. No rodeo is complete without a queen, and we said hello to Stacy, this year's winner.
I won Orrick Rodeo Queen. I was the only one won, so I pretty well won. But I raised $4,105.
People say these cowboys are a dying breed, a precious commodity, and real hardship. We want to keep them safe and sound as best we can.
We saw no shortage of dislocated shoulders, broken arms, very sore buttocks, but the highlight of the rodeo was certainly the children's events. If you feel sorry for these children, not to worry. They would soon gain the opportunity to take out their frustrations.
All right, the reruns may start.
Some of these animals became very good pets, while others became very good meals. In fact, we enjoyed some of these animals on our way out of town at a post-rodeo barbecue at the beach. It was there that we met a lady named Verna, who treated us to the song of Orrick.
Sing a song of Orrick, where we live. Let's sing about what Orrick really is. Let's sing about the redwood trees that grow. Let's sing about the river that we know. The salmon run each year up Redwood Creek. The elk live together in the park. I love to fish for salmon in the creek. I love to hike and play up in the park. 'Cause I live in Orick, California. I live in Orick by the sea. I'm glad that I live right here in Orick. I'm happy and there's no place I'd rather be. Proud of the home we have and proud of the friends we know. And glad that we all are here and sad when we have to go. 'Cause we live in Orick, California. We live in Orick, California.
Let me get out of the camera. Very good.
Way to go, Verna.
Very nice.
That's beautiful, sweetheart.
So what's that song about, basically?
It's about the beauty of Orick.
right, Steve. Oh, Steve propositioned me a while ago, and he said he wanted to go out the back parking lot, but I told him I didn't go that way. But that's okay. I respect him for what he is.
Oh man. Oh, let me pause this, guys. Oh, all right. Bravo, bravo, my friend.
Thank you.
Hopefully, folks, you enjoyed that. If you hadn't seen it before, like I said, one of my favorite short films. What's that make you feel like, Jensen? Do you watch this movie on a regular basis, or what is it?
It's like a once a year deal, but I don't get sick of it. I do get a kick out of it still.
That's great. We got a few comments. I didn't want to obstruct the cinema while we were watching it, but we got quite a few comments in the chat. Someone said such flawless background music choices. Now, I was curious, is George Harrison the guy that does the music? Is that a real person, or did you just put that down because you're a Beatles fan?
No, he had a couple of solo albums that he put out while the Beatles were still together. They were kind of experimental, and it just so happened that there were like 2 or 3 like countryish songs on that album that I just plucked and threw into it.
Oh, okay.
Without permission. It's actually, I'm kind of surprised that, like sometimes YouTube like mutes stuff that's not, that's copyrighted or whatever. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't gotten that treatment, but it's made it this far without getting muted.
That's interesting. We had a funny comment here that when Jerry was singing, Jennifer said they should have tapped him for the inauguration. Now, did Jerry, to me, he's my favorite character in the movie. Do you have a favorite character after watching this so many times?
Oh boy, who's my favorite character? The most iconic, I think, the thing that people mention to me, I think more than anything, is the Song of Orrick. So maybe Verna, the woman that sang the Song of Orrick, might be my favorite. She was very nice to us too, and a friend of mine actually worked with her. I think she cooked at McKinleyville High School, I want to say, and he worked with her there. But Verna's probably my favorite just because she sang the Song of Orrick. But I love Jerry too.
Now, I know you said in our earlier chat that you kind of lost touch with these people, which obviously will happen over 20 years, and now you live in a totally different, locale. But do you ever hear from anybody like in the last 5 years that was associated with this movie, like that's actually was in it?
Well, not to be a bummer, but I did. Jerry passed away, and I heard from his sister, who said, "Could I please get a DVD of the movie?" So I sent his sister a DVD of the movie because apparently they watched it all the time, and Jerry loved it. So that's the most recent person from the Orrick movie that I heard from was Jerry's sister. Trying to think anybody. Well, and then I got a picture. I wish I had that. I should have grabbed it for this. My friend Ben Allen sent me a picture of him with his arm around Verna, and it was both of them just waving to me. Yeah.
So let's see. Anybody, if people have comments or questions for Jensen about this movie or anything else that they're curious about, please feel free to ask them in the chat. Critical Blast says the lumberjack should be the setting for a new Cheers. I agree. RJ. People are making a lot of comments about a rat tail, and I'm not sure what is that all about.
I do have one. It's basically just, I haven't gotten my hair cut in an eternity, so basically it's just a mullet. It's no longer a rat tail.
Okay. I got you. Is Jennifer a friend of yours? She seems to know you. Okay. Let's see. Someone said, was this the version that was available to rent at VX in Arcata around 2002?
That's the long version.
Oh, so it was on a DVD?
VHS. I don't even know if DVD exists. Did DVD exist 2002. It was a VHS tape. Yeah.
Wow.
That Meredith saw the long version I've referenced, and like I said, I've like misplaced my copies. They're just in boxes, I think, at my dad's house.
Oh,
So
wow.
I like, if somebody wanted to watch the long version, I'd have to say, you're out of luck. I can't help you, which is silly. I should have a copy of it, but I haven't seen one in years. But they exist somewhere. I just got to find them.
Someone said, okay, did you have that Hitch hoodie when you made the movie? If so, how did you get your white so white?
Derek knows I got this when I made Rural Rock and Roll. I made a movie about Humboldt, like garage rock, like a week in the life of Humboldt garage rock called Rural Rock. That's also on the Renderville channel, and that was fun to make, and also a nice little like Humboldt culture slice of life, thing.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, you've got quite a playlist. I didn't know you had a YouTube channel, and I'm gonna have to go back and check out, because I like a lot of alternative and kind of punk rock. And when I saw you were in a band called Hasselhoff, I had to ask you about that. It was some kind of, what was it? Some kind of polka band, or?
I think one of the members of Hasselhoff might be in the audience here. It was me and Bandon, who owns the Works, the record store in Eureka, and a guy named Trevor Creel, who now lives in San Luis Obispo area. He was on accordion, and yeah, it was kind of hard rock polka.
Okay.
Most of the songs were Trevor's, a couple of my songs, but basically it was just us backing Trevor up as he did these, like, yeah, we did this polka in very loud, like, hard rock.
So you were in bands when you were in Humboldt then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So the guy that owns the Works, you mean the record store?
Yeah.
Right.
He was a drummer for Hasselhoff.
Okay. Did you ever go to the Works when Mike Patton was working there? Did you know?
The guy from Mr. Bungle, that would be, no, in fact, I didn't know he worked there. So that would be, we didn't move up to Humboldt until 96. So I'm assuming he was working there in what, like mid 80s-ish?
I'm a lot older than you, but I used to buy my records from Mike, and then lo and behold, he's on MTV singing with Faith No More. And, pretty much he and Sarah Bareilles, I think, kind of put Humboldt and Eureka on the map, the musical map. And then actually one time I was in an art store, and Captain Beefheart came in. He was buying art.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I think he lived up in Trinidad. He had a house.
I'm a big Beefheart fan. I know exactly where he lived. I know 40 Trinidad Scenic Drive.
Yep. It was so surreal, because I used to read Rolling Stone, and I really didn't listen to his music, but everybody, the critics were saying this guy is he's a prodigy, and he's amazing and very eccentric. And I saw pictures of him, and lo and behold, I'm in this art store, because I've been doing comic books and buying supplies and Zipatone, and Beefheart there. And I go, "Are you Captain Beefheart?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm Captain."
Like approximately what year would this have been?
Oh gosh. I was doing comics probably in the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay. So that's when he was starting to phase out of music and just focusing completely on his art. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't run into very many famous people up here, but he was one, and that was really, really interesting. We'll have to have you back and kind of talk about some of your other movies, but we've got enough, on our plate to just, Orrick is the topic of the night. Let's see, what else can we ask you about that? So someone said Charlie passed away. Was he the guy in the bar?
Oh, I didn't know that. That's too bad.
And so I think he's the guy that was singing in the bar with the hat.
Yeah, he was always very nice to us. He was at almost every event we went to up there. Charlie was there.
Oh, so he was the guy that would, that was his gig, was the town musician. And
that's Bobo that just commented on him. I'm not sure what his day job was, but he was just that was just a side thing, I think. Okay. He would play, and I don't know if he played there every Friday when they did the meat pool tournament. But he happened to be that day that we were there.
Did you ever participate in the pool tournament?
No, it was intimidating.
So, like in the course of your year of filming up in Orrick, how many times did you run into Jerry?
That was the only time we ever saw Jerry was that very evening.
Really?
Yeah.
So did he live? Do you think that he lived up here? Do you know, or did he?
I'm pretty certain he lived in. I'm pretty certain he lived in Orrick. I think he was he worked in lumber in some capacity. But yeah, that was the only time we ever saw Jerry was that evening.
Wow.
I don't even think talk to him. In fact, if you see that clip when he's reciting the poem and chastising Steve at the very end, I'm in the background just sitting at the bar having a beer. So I don't even know if I talked to Jerry.
Okay. But I'm glad you did not leave him on the editing room floor, because I think he's kind of the heart of the movie.
Yeah.
He's the guy that everybody that we show it to, quotes, when we remind them about this movie. And you sent me a really funny picture. I'm going to try to find that and share it with people. So let me see if I can find that. And
do you want me to set it up as I have it too, if you want me to
you could share it.
How do I do that?
Okay. You'd have to pull it up on your computer and then hit share, and then
let me say, what if I send it to you through the Facebook?
Yeah, that'll work too. I think, folks, just bear with us a second. This will be worth your while.
As I'm finding it,
Did somebody get a tattoo?
as I'm finding it, I will explain it. So my friends Jesse and Jessica, who I just sent it to you, Don. My friends Jesse and Jessica, who live in I sent it through the Facebook.
Okay.
My friends Jesse and Jessica, who live in Eureka, said they just sent me a text one day and said, "You're not going to believe this, but we ran into a couple and somehow got on the topic of Orrick and the movie Orrick, and they liked Jerry and his famous line, as is as, so much that they got matching as is as tattoos." That probably right there was like the pinnacle of our, movie making, making Orrick. Like when somebody gets a tattoo of a line in the movie, that's it. It was worth it.
Oh man, that just must have warmed your heart.
I couldn't. I thought she was lying to me. I said, "Come on," and then when she sent the picture, I'm like, "Oh my God, there it is."
You could have a cottage industry with just Orrick quotes, like on T-shirts and with Jerry's portrait. I'm always looking at the marketing angle. Someone said, "Oh, I'm actually in the video. Lots of people have passed." Mary Dawn Childs. Wow. Thank you, Mary, for coming. And I'm sorry for those that have passed. It has been 20 years. So that's 2 decades. Life happens, unfortunately. But what else do we have here? Someone said, Chris Colland put Humboldt music on the map. Is that someone or I'm not familiar with Chris?
Yeah, he was one of the people that is in the Rural Rock and Roll documentary. I think you get a kick out of that because you probably. What's that? Oh, you broke up there for a second. I was just going to say,
guys, we're having a little bit. Let me see if I can get the stream to be a little bit better. I'll open a door here. Sorry, guys, we have a little bit of an internet lag. Are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sorry about that, folks.
Yeah, I was just going to say Chris Collin is in the Rural Rock documentary. I bet you if you watch that, you'll recognize a bunch of the people. You'll maybe not realize, I didn't know that person was a musician. They work at the such and such store or whatever. We did, I think, like a dozen bands. So if you figure there's like 4 people in each band, that's like 50 people walking around Eureka that are in these garage rock bands that maybe people have no idea. But Chris has been in bands for an eternity. He was in what the hell were they called? Why am I drawing a blank?
It's okay.
Couch, and they were on Lookout Records, which was kind of a well-known Bay Area punk label that launched like Green Day and stuff. And so Jennifer was referring to him.
what's your instrument of choice?
When I'm sitting around the house and just writing songs, I'm usually playing guitar. But when I was in bands in Humboldt, it was almost always bass.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so Angela asked, "Where's Steve tonight?"
I wish I invited him to come on this, but he's a school teacher. He actually teaches film at a high school, and tonight was like hell on earth. Grades and kids needing to talk to him after hours. So he was like, there's just no way I can do it.
And
yeah.
And so so he's a teacher. Does he ever work with you on your freelance stuff or?
No, the last we collaborated was basically this short when I was doing that trying to make that pilot with the 3 documentaries. We collaborated a bit on that. I mostly edited it myself, but I would, hey, here's what I'm working on, and he would kind of chime in with feedback. But that was basically me editing that down to make the shorter version of it. But I would love to, it'd be fun to make another movie with him. Or we used to collaborate on music together too. Steve loved JENSEN RUFE Quartet, awful music, but but they were fun. They were fun albums to make, and yeah, maybe I think if we collaborated on something, it would be more likely to be an album than a documentary. To be quite frank.
Somebody Facebook messaged me named Mary Dawn, and she says, "I want to comment on your Orrick video, but I'm not sure how." Mary Dawn, if you're watching on Facebook, I think you can just comment, in the chat. Oh, there we are, Mary Dawn. That was, she sent that at 8:07. That was about 10 minutes ago. So she's the one that said, I'm actually in the video. Okay. So yeah, Mary Dawn, maybe you can put in the chat where what part you were in. Were you in the rodeo scene or, I'd be curious to know. Jessica.
I think I remember her. Did she go by Dawn? Did she go Dawn? Did you go, or Mary Dawn? Did you go by Dawn at the time? I'd be curious to know because I remember Dawn.
Oh. So I'm gonna take that little image off the screen here. So we're back. So Jessica Oliver in the chat says Charlie was in a band, Redwood Ramblers, with his love Linda, and they performed all over Humboldt and Del Norte. Two really fun peeps. Yeah, cool. So basically, one thing I was really curious about that I read in your bio was that after you got done at Humboldt, you took on the job as the film commissioner for Humboldt County. Is that correct?
Yeah.
For how many years?
I had worked there while I was in school, and then the film commissioner left, and I said, well, I'll apply for this job, and got it, and ended up working in that job for 2 years. I sort of had this vision coming, phasing into that job coming out of school that it could lead me into, my LA job when I eventually decided to move to LA, and it would be my inroads into the film industry. But really, when you're working at the Film Commission, all you're really specifically dealing with are location scouts and the search for specific locations. Like there's a whole system with all the film commissions in California, which are usually by county. Sometimes they're by city, but usually they're by county, whereby we would just be getting faxes. Sometimes we'd be getting a dozen of them a day from either films or like commercials that would say, we need a road through really tall trees, and we need to see what it looks like today. And I would drive out and take pictures and send it to them and try to get these car commercials to come up, with the idea, being that they'll come up and stay in the hotels and bring income to Humboldt County. That's why, the Film Commission was being funded by the government at the time. I'm not sure if it still is, but and then of course you try to get the big daddy. You try to get Steven Spielberg's. When Steven Spielberg's fax comes in, and you really want to send them the best photos. But basically, it seemed like 9 times out of 10, I was dealing with commercials. Occasionally, you'd get a feature film that would come in. The Majestic came in while I was working there, and that was like the the biggie, but some debate about whether that's what my friend Callisto just said. Jensen brokered the Majestic deal. It was I don't know. There are high hopes for that movie, and did you see it, Don?
Yeah, I did.
Daddy.
Yeah, it was almost like when Bill Murray tried to do like The Razor's Edge. You know, I don't know if you remember that movie, that they tried to put a comedian in a serious role, and not to say that some comedians can't pull that off, but it just wasn't. It wasn't a great fit. What other were there other movies that people might know that you kind of helped people work on that while you were on the commission?
There was a movie called Kingdom Come. It was not big old smashing success. Were there any other features? I think The Majestic was the only feature that shot while in that 2-year gap. It was mostly just like car commercials, music videos. There was a country music video that came up, a guy named Jerry Kilgore, and the video was like #1 on CMT for a little while, and it's got Humboldt. I think it's still on YouTube, actually. If people look it up, it's like got Humboldt locations everywhere. It's kind of cool to watch. Jerry Kilgore Love Trip. But I don't have too many exciting stories from the film commission job. It was really fun, but Majestic was the only biggie. Mostly it was just like, a car commercial's here type of a deal.
Did you get to interact with Jim Carrey or any of the actors?
What's his God, I can't remember his name. The guy his dad in the movie, got to hang out with him. And then I did get to do a radio show for what's the AM like talk radio in Humboldt? I forget the call letters, but did a
KINS.
I think that was it. Did a like a radio show with a couple of the actors from the movie.
Was his dad James Whitmore in the movie?
No, God, what's his name? He was in North by Northwest. Oh, what's his name? Super famous actor. He also played Dracula in the recent movie about like Dracula.
Frank Langella?
Martin Landau, my wife just yelled.
Oh, Martin Landau. Yeah, Ed Wood.
Yeah, got to meet him and hang out. Yeah, exactly, Ed Wood. Got to hang out with him, but not Jim Carrey, other than just like, oh, there he is standing over there. I didn't like. I tried to do my best to just sort of. I don't want to be that guy. Can I get your autograph?
Yeah, I hear you. Mary Dawn actually told us she was the rodeo princess in the back of the truck.
Oh, okay.
So,
hi, Mary Dawn.
Someone said I forgot to introduce you as an Emmy Award winner. Is that true?
Yeah, Project Runway. No, every Emmy Award nominee.
Okay.
Yeah.
For are you still working on that show, or are you done?
Project Runway. I guess Project Runway does still exist. I worked on it, and then that show was owned by Weinstein.
Oh,
and then he had a little something happened to him in his personal life, and just like that's it. His kingdom crumbled, and he no longer owned that show. Somebody else acquired it, and as soon as they acquired it, they took it away from the production company that I work for. And in fact, I was supposed to start working on it in like a week, and then poof, it was gone, and we had to just scramble and find new jobs. Wow. And I haven't worked on it since because it's no longer at the company that I was freelancing at. But that was a great show to work on. Like, I won't name names, but sometimes I work on shows and I don't even tell my parents I'm working on the shows, but just because of their, not the highest brow programming. But Project Runway was really cool show. I enjoyed working on that a lot.
Did you get to meet any of the hosts?
Yeah, I think you and I were mentioning before we went on the air that I got to the 1 year that I was a producer on the show, I got to actually go back there for a week of filming and got to kick it with, Tim Gunn and Heidi Klum. Yeah.
That's really cool. I was such a fan of that I would write to the people that, the people that kind of made it to the finals, and on Twitter, I would follow them. And there was one lady that was really so sweet. She actually sent me kind of artistic piece of fabric that she did just because I was a fan, and she sent me a signed autograph photo. And
Who's that?
I can't remember who she was. She kind of looked like she was kind of a smaller with maybe an Asian background contestant, and I don't remember her name offhand, but I have it in a scrapbook with all my autographs. So someday I'll have to pull it out and show. One of the people in the chat said, "Tell us about your voiceover work with the Kardashians." I'm not sure if you were trying to avoid.
When I was working on that show, God, I could probably get in trouble for saying this. There was this episode where there's this guy named Scott Disick who was I don't even think they were married. He was like the baby daddy of Kourtney Kardashian, and this was actually one of the spin-off shows called Kourtney and Khloe Take New York. And the whole premise of the show was that they're there to open up their retail store, and the store was called Dash, and they were in the process of building it. This particular storyline was that all the people that were working there really liked Scott's fashion sense, and so when he walked into the door, they kind of were hoping that the people would turn and look at his new ascot tie and a cane. He took to carrying a cane, and in actuality, when they walked in, no one said a word, so it was just like mute. And so they said, "Can't you get any reactions from people like reacting to him walking in?" And so I just had a mic in my office, and I recorded myself saying, "Look who's here, Mr. GQ," and put it in the cut, sort of expecting that eventually it would get ripped out, and it made its way to air. So if you watch that particular episode, when Scott walks into the shop, you'll hear me say, "Hey, look who's here, Mr. GQ."
It sounds like in the movie Orrick, is it primarily you doing the narration, or does Steve?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, kind of. I wasn't sure until I met you who it sounded like. Jensen, can you tell us what has been your funniest experience working in film? I mean, the one that you just told us was pretty funny. Is there anything that can top that you can share?
Funniest?
Yes.
Oh boy.
I want to tell us about the Puff Daddy story. I don't know if that's appropriate or not. We'll have to.
I cannot tell that story. God, funny. Oh man, you hit me there with a working in television. Man, what is? I'm drawing a blank, Don.
Okay. No worries. That's okay. I apologize. I had a couple of things I thought I would ask you, and you've actually shared quite a few very amusing stories just on what you're doing. So you told me in the green room and before we started the show, you're able to edit The Bachelor or Bachelorette in your kitchen. Is that correct?
Behind my window here, which is the YouTube, is The Bachelor. Yeah.
So what kind of equipment does somebody of your expertise use to do that type of level of editing?
The program's called Avid Media Composer, and they set me up here. It's not even my computer. It's an enormous 27-inch screen. They offered me 2 of them, but like, nah, this will be just fine. And I'm using a program called Jump, which means that my computer back at the office that we can't go to because of COVID, that computer is turned on. Avid is up and running, but it's being broadcast through my TV. And so when I sit down and edit, this program Jump is communicating with that computer and making the edits.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Oh,
my wife just gave me a drink.
Oh, that's great. So I have a question for you. Have you ever had like your work, like let's say you put in like all this editing work into a project. Have you ever had like a computer glitch where it just totally gets deleted or lost in cyberspace? Or
2 hours ago, I had just like gotten to the end of something that was a pain in my ass, to pardon my French. Like, yes, I'm done. And I like right as I'm like going to save, Avid has unexpectedly quit. And sometimes, you know, you hit something, and I just took a deep breath and went in to see how much I'd lost, and it was 40 minutes. Like, it could be worse, but like I couldn't believe it hadn't auto saved more recently than 40 minutes. So I had to go back in and figure out my edits. That would happen 2 hours ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
but as far as like major catastrophes, usually that's company wide, and sometimes you get the word, guys, I'm afraid you're not going to be able to edit the rest of the day, you know, and then you get at the hanky and you dab your tears as you go home. But yeah, usually when a catastrophe happens, it's like, you know, the room where all of the hard drives are overheat, and like there's a big like fire and whatever. It happens occasionally. It'll happen like once a season that we'll get an email or think the spinning ball will happen, and they'll say, hang tight, guys, we'll give you an update. And sometimes they'll say, go out for a lunch, maybe make it a 2-hour lunch. Then you come back from the lunch and they say, go home. You guys aren't going to be editing again today.
Angela, I don't know if this is an inside joke. She says, I was waiting for the pinky again.
Yeah, I do like to drink with my pinky.
I see. Someone said he switched to Truly Tea Seltzer, another promotion. So what's a day in the life of Jensen Rufe like? Do you have like set work hours and you just kind of call it quits, or do you just kind of work as the spirit leads you?
Well, it's kind of, I mean, when you go to before COVID, it's kind of a, 9 to 7, 9 to 8 type of a deal. A lot of it kind of depends on what job you're working on. Sometimes they really want you to be there at a certain hour and to end at a certain hour. And if it's a union gig, I'm part of the Editors Guild. They don't want you working longer than the allotted hours. So they actually will sometimes say, all right, it's 8 o'clock, or depending on what show or how many hours it is, you got to go home. But usually it's just like a 9 to 6 or whatever, 9 to 7 or type of a deal. But working from home, sometimes I'm like this 2 nights ago, Andrew and I were sitting watching TV, and I was like, God, I can't get this one edit out of my head. I just want to get it done with it, so I don't have to, like, I'm not going to dream about it. So I just sat down at like 1 a.m. and just worked on it till like 2 a.m. Got this thing out of the way just so I could not think about it anymore. So I kind of like that aspect of working from home. I'm sure it's the same for you or any job that anybody works, that you can kind of make your own hours, or when a creative thing hits you, just run over to the computer and get it done.
Yeah. Do you actually, I mean, you've edited so many shows. Do you actually look forward to when they air? Do you make special time to say, oh, honey, The Bachelor's coming on. I worked on this. Do you
yeah, we do watch it, but that's not the case for all the shows I work on. Like, I guess I won't mention names, but there's a few shows that like I want to run for the hills and stay far away from. And The Bachelor, it's not a show that I tell my parents, hey, tune in to watch, but it's kind of a cultural phenomenon, and we do tape it. We do watch it or we usually wait till like a half hour after it airs, so we can fast forward through the commercial.
Oh, gotcha. Hey, Jensen, this has been a lot of fun. I know we're like at over an hour now, and I is there anything else you'd like to say or comment or ask people to contact you? I don't know. Your website looks very interesting. I barely cracked the surface, but for those of you that have not gone to his website, which let me see if I can put the link on there. He's got this his video archives, music, his bio. You can see some of his editing work and his resume. So I'm going to have to definitely watch the breaded tenderloin video. That sounds like a lot of fun. And I might have to have you back to explain what that one is all about.
Yeah, that one kind of has the same feel of Orrick. It's just like a slice of life of Indiana.
Okay, cool.
And that one was actually a thesis film for HSU.
And I think you said that one did well in film festivals?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. But I sort of like with Orrick, I re-edited it in 2004 when I was making that, that Steven Jensen's universe thing. So it's slightly different than the thesis, but 95% the same. But yeah, no, I don't. Just wanted to say, I appreciate your initial email way back when. In fact, I was going through and looking at our first communications. Thanks for reaching out to me and saying that you like the movie. Thanks for this. This is fun. And I know I've got some friends watching. Thank you guys all. And anybody that doesn't know me that, is interested, I think the Tenderloin's a good next spot, but also the Rural Rock and Roll documentary. If you like Humboldt culture, that's probably the one I'm most proud of. It's an hour long.
Okay.
On YouTube, it's broken up into 6 parts, but the whole thing it's a feature documentary on a week in the life of Humboldt, garage rock musicians.
Yeah, I might recognize some of these guys.
I guarantee you will.
So that's totally cool. Jensen, you're a gentleman and so talented, and I really thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and watch this wonderful gem of a movie, and it'll continue to be a cult classic, beyond Humboldt County, I'm sure. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe to not only this channel, but also to Jensen's channel so you can find out whenever he's posting new content. And I guess until next time, take care, God bless, and have a great evening. And again, thanks, Jensen. Good night.
As is as.
All right, bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.